Let's take a look at 6 evidence-based interventions for working with kids with anxiety. Number 1 is, of course, CBT. We have long known that CBT is effective at addressing anxiety in children and adults, but what does this look like with kids? Well, for starters, we can start with psychoeducation, just teaching them what anxiety actually is. For kids who don't know what this experience is and they aren't familiar with it, this can be really scary when they're starting to have these physical sensations in their body. So just teaching them what anxiety is, how to recognize it, what it might feel like, what it might look like, what those thoughts might sound like, how it might impact you in other areas of your life is huge. We can also teach them self-monitoring, so learning to recognize when those physical symptoms pop up, learning to recognize when we're having those anxious thoughts, and try to acknowledge some of the patterns that we're seeing when we do notice those things. We can, of course, help them with cognitive restructuring as well, coming up with more helpful and more realistic thoughts that they can have in those moments instead of those anxious thoughts. We're not teaching them to be purely positive or just make up things that aren't necessarily true, but we are teaching them to gather evidence from the environment, from past experiences, from the people around them, so that they can develop some more helpful thinking around those situations. Number 2 is mindfulness-based interventions. Body and thought awareness are hugely important for working with kids with anxiety, and body and thought awareness just happen to be tenets of mindfulness. As they learn to tune into their bodies, their thoughts, their experiences, being mindful in the moment, they can, again, start to establish some patterns between those things. Mindfulness also helps kids with anxiety learn to tune into the moment, disconnect from the past, disconnect from the future, and focus on the here and now so that they're not getting lost in those thought traps about what might happen or what if those people were thinking these things that I'm assuming that they were thinking. Number 3 is social skills training. Now, this isn't just for kids with social anxiety. The skills that we're teaching in social skills training, like assertiveness, communication, advocacy, are huge for all kids with any type of anxiety. As we're teaching them those skills, including things like problem solving, we're helping them to build confidence in those situations where they might typically feel anxious. And social skills can be taught just like those academic skills. There's also a lot of support for physical activity for kids with anxiety. Because they're getting out there, they're moving their bodies, they're releasing some of those stress hormones, they're getting some good endorphins, they're also feeling more confident about their bodies and moving in fresh air, being around other people and connecting with others. So physical activity is huge. We can find ways to incorporate that into our group counseling sessions or just throughout our entire school day if we're in a school setting. Number 5 is relaxation techniques. Now, these are, of course, a part of CBT, but we can also teach them as standalone because we can teach these in our Tier 1 instruction to all of our students so that they all have these skills. We can teach kids things like controlled breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, grounding, just those strategies that they can reach out and grab for anytime they need to when they feel like they're starting to get lost in an anxiety spiral or when they're having a hard time connecting with the here and now. Last but not least, number 6, especially when working with younger kids, is bibliotherapy. There are so many amazing books out there about anxiety that help kids connect to the characters so that they understand that they're not alone in their experiences, and they can also gain some really valuable skills as they travel down the path with the characters and the stories. If you want to know more about working with kids with anxiety, head over to my website at counselorkeri.com. I have tons of information on activities you can use, strategies that you can use, and fun ways that you can incorporate these techniques into your classroom guidance lessons, your individual sessions, and group counseling.